Hey guys, Todd here. Today we're going to install the Roll and Lock E-Series tonneau cover on this 2021 Ford F-150. Now this cover is equipped with the XT rails, but it's a similar installation if you have the standard rails. For this installation, I'll be using the Allen wrench included in our kit, a Phillips head screwdriver, a ratchet with an extension and 3 sockets, a 7/16, an 8mm, and a 10mm. Now make sure you're subscribed to our channel to stay up to date with all our latest content. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now in your instruction sheet, it shows you to go from the bed and wire up to the battery. I find it a little bit easier to go from the battery and go back to the bed because I think it's a little easier to go down the firewall instead of up the firewall. But route it whichever way you want. Main thing is you want to connect to a positive and a ground. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect our positive. I've already got the fuse pulled out. I'm going to set that to the side while we're working. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this back. This takes an 11mm on the Ford. So be careful not to cross anything as you're loosening that up. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. All right, for my ground, I'm going to go ahead and pick this ground that's going up to the body. I'm going to pull that off with an 8mm. All right, now here is my harness. Bring it underneath, get it hooked in there, and go ahead and tighten it back down. Okay, so here is our positive we just connected to the battery. This is our positive, our main harness. What we're gonna do is push those together, like so. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and route our cable and secure it along the way. We're gonna go across the top of the engine bay, down the firewall, along the frame, and then up into the bed. Now on the opposite side of this location right here, there is an oval kick out in the bed of the truck. I've already popped that out. That gives me access to the outside of the bed. That's where I ran the cable up through. Now I also made a small hole in the bed rug to run the cable through. I'll also be using that hole when I run my drain tubes. Now let's go ahead and drop the canister into the bed of the truck. Okay, so I've got the canister in the bed of the truck all the way up against the bed cab. I've already got it centered side to side. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the canister cover and set that to the side for right now. All right, next we're gonna install our rails. Everything I do on the passenger side over here will also be doing on the driver's side. Now, we've got a bed rug liner in this, so I've already got it kind of pulled down and out of the way. What we're gonna do, this is towards the tailgate, we're gonna access this hole in the bed of the truck first. We've got a bracket, it's an L-shaped bracket. On one side of it, it says up. That obviously is gonna go up. It's gonna line up to that hole. Now in our kit, we're also gonna have a bolt with a washer. It's gonna feed through this portion of the bracket. And then we've got an aluminum plate that bolt is going to thread into. So we're gonna loosely thread that bolt into the plate. Once that's kind of connected, we're going to take that plate and slide the plate down into the hole. Next, what we want to do is kind of pull on the bracket to seat that plate against the backside of the bed on the inside. This just keeps it from spinning around while we tighten it down. Now I'm going to use a 7/16 socket with an extension just to give myself a little bit more to grab a hold of. And just by hand, I'm just going to go ahead and start turning that. And that's going to start drawing that bracket to the bed cap. This is just the easiest way to do it because there is some thread locking material on that bolt. So just trying to tighten it down without holding this makes it a little challenging. So just kind of hold it out while you tighten it down. That's the best way to do it. And once we get into place, just get it nice and snug. Just kind of finger tight for right now. That way we can still kind of adjust it, manipulate it around. And next we can go ahead and set the rail on top. Okay, so this is the passenger side rail. Now if you take a look at it, we've got a track right here. This is actually where the cover is gonna slide in and out of. The front end of that track is gonna dip down. We've also got this kind of the shiny metal side that is going to face towards the cab of the truck. This portion of the rail is going to hang on top of our bed cap. So let's go ahead and set it up on the bed cap and slide it up to the canister. All right, now what you're going to notice on the end of the rail, we've got a little bit of a notch that's right here. This portion of the canister needs to slide into that notch. Also make sure your seal is fitting outside of the rail, not tucked underneath. So we're just going to go ahead and line that up. Once that's lined up, go ahead and slide the rail forward. The cover is going to actually start moving into the channel on the rail. As you slide it forward, make sure you grab your seal, kind of pull it off to the side, push it all the way forward. Then we can take and tuck the edge of that seal back inside. Now let's go ahead and affix the rail to the canister. Okay, now where the rail meets the canister, we're going to see there's a little hole that goes through the rail and also through the part that comes out of the canister. In order to get that hole to line up, you may need to lift up on the canister a little bit. We're going to have a machine screw out of our kit that's got a Phillips head end. That's going to run through that hole. When it gets through the hole, we're also going to use our flag nut on the opposite side to run the machine screw through and hold it in place. All right, once you have the threads locked into the flag nut, you can go ahead and let go of that, and it's just going to rotate as you turn the screwdriver, and then go ahead and tighten it down. All right, here we are back at the tailgate portion again. What we're going to do is we're going to push down on the rail, and that's going to seat that clamp into place. We're going to go ahead and tighten that down with our 7/16. Let's get it nice and snug. Next, we can take out of our kit, we've got some shorter Allen head bolts with a lock washer. We're going to go up through and thread it into that clamp. Now, the only way this is going to line up is if the rail is forward enough to line up with the back of the tailgate. All right, once we've got that in there, just get it finger tight for right now. All right, now we're going to go ahead and attach our clamp halves to the middle and front clamp locations. This is our clamp half that is lower. We're going to go ahead and slide that up into place. We've got our longer Allen head bolts with lock washers. Going to go up through and then thread into that. Also put that in just finger tight for right now. We're going to do this for the front clamp location and the center and front clamp locations on the opposite side as well. Okay, next what we need to do is align our rails. They need to be parallel and they need to be exactly 59¼ inches apart from each other. Now, a quick way of doing that is if you take your canister guard, you'll notice at the bottom of the canister guard, there's a couple of notches that are cut out. That's 59¼ inches. So you can actually kind of set that on the rail. And then once you spread the rails apart and get that to drop down in place, that's your spacing. Make sure they're even side to side, then you can go ahead and tighten everything down. We're going to tighten down on each rail, first the back bracket, then the front bracket, and then the center bracket using our supplied Allen wrench. All right, next we can go ahead and remove this cardboard piece that's included during shipping. Now we can go ahead and install our canister lid. Now there is a peg inside here. It's going to line up with this slot. Once it drops into the slot, we'll slide it forward and this hole is going to line up with a threaded hole. Now in our kit, we're going to have a black machine screw with rubber washer. We're going to put that through with a Phillips head screwdriver, do that on both sides. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our emergency manual override. Now you're going to notice on these two brackets on the cable here, we've got a couple of holes. And then up in the rail, we're going to have a couple of oblong holes here and a couple of oblong holes here. Those are going to line up to those brackets. What we're going to do is slide the bracket back behind the rail and line the holes up. Once the holes are lined up, we're going to use some of our machine screws that are included in our kit, go through the front, and then use a flag nut at the back to tighten everything down. And we're going to go ahead and do that front and back brackets right now. Okay, now this is our soft cable for our manual override. Now this has to actually go into this coupler. The way that happens is it has to thread into this channel and then get tightened down with a screw. So first we need to back that screw out. I'm going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to do that. And I'm going to twist this way so you guys can kind of see what's going on inside that channel. Once I've got that all opened up, I'm going to take the cable, thread it through. And now I can tighten that down. Again, using the Phillips head screwdriver. And then just trim off what's left. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our drain tube. The way I like to do that first is to route the drain tube out of the bed of the truck, and then take the other end and put it over top of our drain barb. Now it's going to take a little bit of pressure, and then once it slides over, repeat the same process for the opposite side. Okay, now I went ahead and reconnected the fuse up at the front next to the battery and closed down the hood. Now I'm going to go ahead and test the operation of the cover. So here's the light. I'm going to turn that back off. Close the cover and stop it. Open the cover and stop it. All right, it works. Now we're going to go ahead and turn our attention back to the canister guard. This is the part that covers the front side of the canister to protect that from any kind of impacts. Now, this is also the same piece we use to center the rails, but I've already peeled off the protective coating. That's the reason why it's all now just black. All right, now our round hole is going to go to the top of the canister. The oblong hole is going to align to the bottom of the canister. What we're going to do is in our kit, we're going to have some machine screws that have some large rubber washers that go with them. Those rubber washers will kind of fit tight on those machine screws. So what we're going to do is slide the rubber washer behind the hole, put the machine screw through there, and the best way to get that to kind of fit all the way into that rubber washer is just take a Phillips head screwdriver and turn the machine screw to where it's nice and tight up against the canister cover. We're going to do that on the bottom one as well, and then we're going to repeat the same process for the holes on the opposite side of the canister guard. All right, now we're going to go ahead and line our machine screws up to these threaded mounts and tighten them down with a Phillips head screwdriver. Repeat the same on the opposite side. Now in your kit, you're also going to have a bottle of 303 aerospace protectant and lubricant. And what we're going to do with that is squirt a little bit of that into a microfiber cloth, and then run it along the inside of the channel, making sure to apply it to the top seal and also the bottom. Repeat the same on the opposite side. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.